throughout the 15 years that you've played the game professionally, who was the best value socially in one of those positions apart from yourself?
Well, it definitely wouldn't be me. So that's an easy start. I think I was struggling with second row, to be honest, trying to think of someone. So I kind of thought outside the box, and I'm thinking Nick Easter, who played second row for Quins a few times. He, for me, like, epitomizes a social player. Like, he was always leading the charge when we had away games on the social. He'd be the one organising socials, always the one leading the court session before we went out for the socials. And he'd get loose and he'd absolutely love it. And he was very old school in that sense. And he was a big part of what we're about in 2012 in terms of enjoying each other's company on and off the field. So we had a European trip away. I think it was in France, and our head coach John Kingston at the time ended up getting his room broken into, but it was with a hotel key that they'd taken from the hotel lobby. They went in and flipped his bed. It ended up getting blamed on George Robson, who wasn't there, but I think Minty was the one leading the charge. So they'd come in off a night out and just thought they'd give it a go by trying to get someone's key. They picked John Kingston being the head coach and asked for the room key of John Kingston. They gave it to these players, and I think it was Minty leading the charge with that. They went in his room. Apparently he was on his bed, stark bollock naked. They ran in, flipped his bed. I think Danny Kerr was one of them. Nick Evans, Ugo. They ran in, flipped his bed, and then turned his room over and then just legged it. And for some reason, he thought it was George Robson, who was actually his sort of favourite player, and absolutely loved George Robson. So the next morning at 6 a.m. they had a coaches meeting to review the game, look over it, watch the game together. So they called up George Robson thinking it was him and made him come down for, I think it was 2 hours, something like that, sit and watch the game with him, just sat in the corner. No one spoke to him, and then just said, leave. And he had no idea. George had no idea why, but it was because of that. So yeah, that's I think Minty was leading the charge on that.
Jeez,
I've got to say, I would not have the plums to nick my coach's room key and go and flip him over whilst he's asleep, bollock naked in bed. Jesus.
Especially JK as well. Oh,
that's pretty impressive going. Like, I would not have the plums to do that.
Mike, I have another social question, but I know you're not the biggest drinker, but I suppose, can you tell me, what was maybe the best night out that you've ever experienced of your career? It kind of doesn't really have to be about drink.
Yeah, best night out. I did have a fair few that night was 2011 or 10, one of those years. It was an away trip to Munster, and it's when we beat Munster in the quarter final. Hands down, the best night out we've had. Court session led by Minty to start with, then into Limerick, and it was just a sea of red jerseys from the game, all their supporters, and we thought we might be in a bit of bother, the amount of supporters, but they absolutely were brilliant. Like they had massive respect for us that we'd won the game. They were brilliant. They were really welcoming. We had a class night which went on till the very early hours of the morning, and we just had great fun. And that for me is hands down the best social we've ever had.